And then we have Nim and Moruk traveled to the Dwarven refugee encampment and met with somebody named Xavius Fobane, played a game called Conquest, and literally handed him the game he invited you to play. I think I rolled my highest roll out of several was a 4. I did very poorly in a game that I thought was going to take a while to play. You guys, I think you settled that in 4 rounds, 3 or 4 rounds, or something like that. It was you handed it to which.
No. Wait, how many do you have to get to? 5? I think you only had to get to 3, and I think I beat him in 2. Because one of them was beat him by 10.
You beat him the first 2 rounds. That's right. You beat him the first 2 rounds, which then went to the round where you can start increasing your modifier. And it was at that point that you beat him so much that you took out all his pieces.
Yeah, it was something quick.
Correctly.
Yeah.
And then that leaves Kane. And Kane, what were you doing?
He was with Savennis, right?
That's what I thought.
You
right?
went to the Wayfarers as well?
Yeah, I wasn't doing much, but I was there, I thought.
Okay, all right. No, that's fine. My notes, I did not write down where you went, and so I don't remember where Kane went. So, all right. And then afterwards, I think everybody returned to the camp for the evening, except for maybe one. And is that true, or did I forget anything? So everybody went back to the refugee camp to sleep in your tents for the second night?
Yeah, we actually met up in the morning.
No, we have a house now, right?
We haven't gotten a tour. We haven't been let in yet.
So this is the day that you will get your house. Yes.
We got our house. It was going to be set up, and then it was the middle of the day, and we were going to the meeting.
Oh, shit, that's right. We did.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
That's correct.
And then it was just like, this is a good place to stop. And it's like, I'd say so.
All right.
And then we just skip it, apparently.
Yep. Nope. You guys are lounging. You guys are
whatever. Because it was going to be ready for us.
Riding a Pegasus.
Right.
My ties and winged horses. Come on down. All right. So, I think what we'll do is we'll stop the tavern celebration. And what was this one?
Oh, but that was a successful test, TJ, though. So, that's good news. Now I'll have to come up with another excuse for losing.
All right. Good to hear.
And not skill.
Okay. You guys head as Figovich directs you, as does Torrent, and so Katrina comes with you guys as well. You head towards the Lyceum, and you get to the main gate, and this is something that several of you have seen before. Probably Moruk was the one that we spent the most time with this description when he found the library when you guys had first made it to Sequin. Again, it is still raining out. It is still a constant wetness to everything. And as you arrive and are ushered towards one of the towers that you haven't come in before, there's a series of what look like students, and you can tell by the robes and the sort of pageantry that they're wearing, around one tower in particular called the Aurad Tower, A-U-R-A-D, Aurad Tower. And as you walk in, they are physically doing what happened in the library to Moruk when he went in, which is blasts of warm air to dry you off and to make you feel more comfortable as you come into the building. You also notice that there is a secondary line of people that are behind them, other students as well, who appear to, I'm not going to make anybody roll checks for this, are casting a continuous stream of arcane eyes to provide what must be a modicum of security for people that are coming in. All of you, including several prominent people from the town, are escorted to a 5th floor lecture hall that has a vast curving window. This large bay window looks out across the harbor, and all of you can see from where you are the large Shaelesti galleons that are patrolling their quasi border out there in the oceans. Once everybody has arrived, that's going to arrive, the headmaster of the school, and I believe Moruk found out his name, but just as a reminder, the headmaster's name is Simon. What is his last name? Yeah, Simon Gohanach. So Simeon. It's Simeon, but I'm saying Simon Gohanach. Gohanach.
Simon Gohan.
Simon Gohan appears and ushers everybody into an adjacent classroom to this one that you're in that has the large bay windows. And it resembles like an operating theater, so there's like a central dais that people can stand on, and then there's seats that kind of rise up all around it so that everyone there can look down at what's happening below them. It's a comfortable area, small, but it's clearly set up for discussion, and the surrounding balconies all have very pleasant and plush-looking chairs that each of you are kind of instructed to find your area and sit down into. The room is fairly well lit, and Kiernan Steckart, who is a name that some of you have heard before, who is the head of the sort of security or like war department for the Lyceum. He is there, a dark-haired dwarf. Actually, you know what? I think I can show you guys some art if I go to here and find them. Let's see if I can find them for you. Yeah, if I do this. Okay, so this is Simon. And then this is Steckart. Steckart places a small, short rod carved with veiny black stone onto the table in the center of the room. He looks at everybody who may have like raised an eyebrow at this or is curious about it, and tells everybody that there is no way anyone can endanger anyone in here as long as they remain within 20 feet of the rod. It's basically like a pacification rod that will react if anybody does anything negatively towards anyone else in the room. He then moves aside, and you all anybody who's watching him sees that he moves over towards a large stone statue that looks like a gnarled treant. And if anybody wants to give me a perception check, you can do so. All right, I've got a perception.
That's supposed to be a 13 plus 6, so a 19. I don't know why it's not. giving that.
And so, you know, let's just like keep an eye on it, just so that, because this was something that's been happening the last couple of weeks. So let's
Okay.
just make sure that we remember that, so that I don't go, ah, 13 doesn't do it. Okay.
You
With a
failed.
19, with a 19 obscurity, you notice that the tree end actually moves ever so slightly, and you realize that this is like an automaton of some sort that just happens to be made out of stone, and is clearly some additional form of support and defense that has been set up in this place. Aside from you guys, Torrent and Katrina, the War Council is attended by Simon, the head of the War Department, Kiernan Steckart, Magistrate Lord Votbird, Lee Sideneth, that's the dude that was Torrent's former master, Commander Xavius Fobane, who nods to both you and Moruk approvingly after his handed defeat yesterday at Conquest. Laura Beck Aldelsberg, who is the
Eagle
paladin that you met that set you guys on the Save the Church path. There is a Wayfarer representative named Giorgio, a very, very like gauche and dapper looking individual that I'm sure Sylvanus, when he arrives late as always, can fill you in on. There is an ambassador from Dason named Kiefer Numhot. There is an ambassador from Sindare named Cranston Snord. Love that name. And an ambassador from Ostalin named Kazha Lonum. Also Katrina and Torrent, obviously, as I had mentioned. And so as everybody gets in and sort of settles down and is sort of ready to go, Simon steps up and says, ladies and gentlemen, you'll pardon me if I'm brief. Our enemies are many, and we know their eyes are constantly watching. We don't have much time for this meeting, so even though I encourage each and every one of us to have our time to speak, I need to ask that we not get too bogged down in discussions of minutiae and other small things. We have a great task ahead of us, a task that we do not simply do to protect ourselves, but to save the lives of all our families, brothers, and sisters. The new emperor of Regesia, Leska, who proudly calls herself the Supreme Inquisitor, has set her armies to conquer all our nations. Everyone is in danger. Let me repeat, everyone is in danger, from the lowliest warrior to the mightiest mage. Now, I have vowed as my duty that I will fight against this scourge from Regesia, but I don't know much about running a war. What I do know is that we all have knowledge and skills that will be valuable in this fight. I hope that you will trust me to lead this fight against tyranny, and I will trust you to give me your best wisdom and aid so that we may be victorious. Our goal is to stop the scourge, to drive back the armies of the Regesian Empire, and to dethrone Leska, and to ensure our family and our homelands remain safe. Now, I hope y'all have some ideas on how to do that, because my ears are open. I saw one perception check earlier for the statue from Obscurity, but if anybody wants to give me a perception check on Simon, I will maybe tell you some other things about Simon.
Perception, or would insight be at all?
You could do insight if you have a particular question that you want to ask.
Does this roll? Oh, never mind. Oh.
Wow.
Sylvanus almost got a 1 as well. Like,
But
it looks like it's on the 1. Instead, it's a 19, but still.
Okay, just to save anybody else from trying to roll on it, So the picture of Simon is spot on. Rather than wearing like robes of like regalness or like things that mark him as the sort of mage that he is, he wears very plain clothes, like rolled up sleeves, a pair of slacks and a belt. Has a couple rings and a couple wristbands on. But what Savanus notices is that along all of the seams on his clothing are sigils and runes that clearly are either meant to allow him to cast at stronger levels or may in fact be spells themselves that he can call. Which I think just sounds really cool.
It's not uncool.
It's definitely not uncool.
It would be cooler on me.
I would like to be wearing that on myself as opposed to you, sir. But so
Like, that would
once
look
Simon,
cooler on the floor, and then I pick it up, and then I wear it. Where were you going with
Simon's
that?
just like, are you telling me to get naked? What? So after Simon sits and directs, he's basically going to direct each of the visitors that are there, you guys included, to speak in turn. Meanwhile, as this is happening, Steckart, the quiet dwarf that's in charge of security, stands vigilant next to that statue with his eyes kind of flitting to each person around the room, just sort of waiting to see if anybody's going to like cause
Be a
trouble,
problem.
for lack of a better way to put it. And so the first person that Simon kind of nods towards is the Magistrate Lord WotBS, who anybody who is part of the Flaming Rats campaign might remember that WotBS was in charge of that section of the city and had issued a thank you to the players who had helped take care of that, and also allay fears that it was the refugees that were setting fire to buildings. WotBS is a dwarven ex-pirate who presides over the government of Sequin, and he comes in with a long list of grievances, mostly against the refugees, who he says are bringing chaos and crime into the town. He is definitely in favor of recruiting able-bodied refugees to a new, broader police force to get things under control. And the specific thing that he suggests is that he wants to systematically bring every refugee that comes to Sequin in for questioning so that they can immediately put into custody anybody that appears suspicious. On the matter of alliances with other nations, he is very leery of any arrangement that forces Sequin to answer to another power. Rather than do like a prolonged speech for each character, I'm just going to kind of bullet point what their points are. And so,
while he's speaking, can I mention the fact that I've seen that sort of mentality before?
So I think that what would if you go to stand
maybe
up,
I'll just
like,
get to
are
it
you
later.
thinking like a House of Lords where like you stand up and says, "To the good sir who just finished speaking, shut up." Like do you like call it out like that, or how would you try to interject, or how would you do that?
I mean, if it's something where we just kind of it's more of a, well, you just kind of wait and then you get your turn. It's like, all right, well, I can wait. That's no big deal.
So no. So like it could go either way. What Simon had opened up with was like, let's give everyone a chance to speak, to get their sort of, stand up and hold the poll of grievances and tell me how to run a war camp. But at the same rate, if there's something that's so outrageous that you would like to respond or react to, you're not denied that ability. It's just what the reaction from either Steckart or Simon will be is to be determined. So your call on what you want to do.
Yeah,
maybe
I can.
Maybe Nim like goes to react, and I'm right next to Nim, so I just kind of put my hand on their wrist, like just to be like to dissuade them from speaking at that moment. And Nim takes my sort of physical gesture as advice to wait their turn.
give that wrist a little squeeze. The
Just
bones pop a
little
little bit.
squeeze, little like settle down,
Squeezy.
settle.
Settle.
Hold,
You're
hold.
breaking my wrist. Stop it. All right. So Votbird sits down. The next person that Simon turns to is Lee Sidneth. You'll remember that Lee had that sort of island compound that was over here. We all suggested, and you guys met some funny people there. And those of you who adventured into the brothel, in fact, saw Lee there, I believe, amongst others. And
So no one saw anyone?
so nobody saw anybody, is what we're saying, because nobody
Sounds
says
like a
anything about
rainbow
anything.
South End.
So Lee looks out across the gathered people with like a freshly shaved bald head and a large grin, and explains that since the blockade has started, that his role has been to maintain the security of Sequence Harbor. And he proceeds to kind of weigh in on all things naval affair. He explains that the North Harbor is so crowded that they're currently sending new ships that are coming into the South Harbor, though the South Harbor doesn't have adequate docks for all of the refugee ships. Um, Lee thinks it's best that most ships that are coming in are not piered so that they can move quickly in case of an attack, because if there's so many ships in the harbor, how could they like mount an offensive to get back out? And so his general stance is that it makes sense to sort of hold off on further developing the Navy in the moment, make the boats that are coming in more until they can be adequately reviewed, and then like kind of assessed as what would be the most like battle ready fleet that they could prepare. Also, Torrent would explain to you kind of like maybe through a private whisper that the reason that Lee Sidoneth is kind of doing this is he is by trade a hydromancer, or somebody who practices water bending, for lack of a better way to put it. Um, However, as he sits down, he turns and sneers towards the ambassador from Ostelin and says out loud, "Some warmongers might disagree with me, but they are motivated by the flow of gold into their own coffers and not the safety of the refugees in our city." And you hear like some of the people in the crowd like erupt, and they're like, "Oh yes," and you see like the face of the ambassador from Ostelin kind of like doesn't react, but you can see like tightness at the edges of their mouth as they kind of like, it looks like they're chewing on those words, just deciding whether or not to respond or just wait their turn. The next up to speak is Commander Xavius Fobane. As I think we talked about before, Xavius is a retired commander from Dason, an aged dwarf, and he sees Sequin's best course of action in forging alliances with any nations that are willing to stand against Regesia. Dason, Ostelin, anybody that's even potentially even the Shaelisti. He has several ideas to take advantages of Sequin's substantial magical resources, such as lending spellcasters to military units of numerous nations, and believes that this would help armies outwit the Regesians and provide some protection against betrayal, as it's sort of like, like rather than like stockpile groups that may just turn on them, by sprinkling in elements from all over the place, it's harder for that group to just suddenly turn, because they'd have to all agree that Regesia made sense as opposed to not. He has identified he's also identified military objectives that could be best handled by mobile experts, small groups of effective commandos that could go in and provide very precise strikes against targets that Regesia may not expect, and then holding back larger forces for that when the actual enemy advances and could potentially be crippled by these sort of like lightning strikes. However, the most important mission that he has to talk about and that he feels is the key for this war is locating the torch of the burning sky. this is a throwback to the very beginning of this adventure, where we talked about this weapon of this ever burning mace that was on fire, that was carried by Coal Tongue, and was kind of the thing that elevated him both to his emperor status as well as his quasi divinity, because it, for some reason, this granted him like near immortality. He believes, this is Phobane, believes that Leska has already begun searching for it, which is why she has spread her army so widely. This is something that you can, I guess, now confirm from the rumors that we were hearing before, that you were gathering, that Regesia is indeed sort of splitting up its main forces and kind of like sending them in various directions. And Phobane believes it is that Leska is trying to find the torch of the burning sky. He already has in his mind a group of people that he trusts that could accomplish the mission of finding them. These are people that he served with in Dason, and with the support of some of the Lyceum's mages, he believes that they could easily go anywhere and do anything to retrieve this most valuable weapon. His kind of sticking point is that this would have to happen in, through, and outside of Dason. And in order to do that, he believes firmly that Sequin needs to gain and garner the support of Dason's king, King Steppengard. One of the things to remember about this, I won't pull up like the big world map right now, but Sequin, although attached to Dason, is a separate entity. It does not pay fealty to Dason, and Dason does not provide it with any support. It acts as kind of like an independent entity, even though it's connected to the fiefdom of was it Megaton? I think Megaton at the bottom of Dason. As Phobane goes to sit down, he stops and he says,
And I think I would also just like to tell everybody that some of the newcomers that are in here,
and he towards you guys. He goes,
I don't think that they are to be underestimated. I think they have more to show to us than probably many in this room would like to believe.
and he kind of winks over at Nim and says,
I still think I need a rematch, because it was a bit of a fluke the other day.
and he sits down. The next person to go is Lorbeck. As she rises to start to speak, you can see Votbird starts to get like irritated. Like he's just like, ugh, here we go again. Lorbeck is less concerned with broad military matters, and she is more worried, as she has kind of already spoken with Nim up towards this, about the thousands of people who are coming to Sequin to make a difference in the war, and that if they are left to their own devices and are not given any support, that they in fact might tear themselves apart. And though all of you have been staying in one of the camps, you guys have witnessed this. You've seen that there's this growing level of tension between the city and the people who live in Sequin and the refugees. And as Votbeard kind of opened up with this conversation of like, we need to make sure all of them are fine. We need more security. We need to, like fact check each one of them so we can lock up anybody who's questionable. And Lorbeck's response to that is that's absolutely not the right way to go. All that's going to do is further drive the wedge between those coming to help and those who just see us as another barrier towards either safety or like being under the thumb of just a different type of authority. She does admit that Regesia is partly to blame for this, but just as many problems are here and are the result of inadequate food, water, shelter. She says for the longest time, in fact, religious rivalry was creating a growing gap. And then she turns towards the party and she says, but these brave fellows have taken it upon themselves to at a minimum help us with that. And I can happily report, and she reports that the churches have agreed to sort of go all in together to act as a resource, to pool their resources towards helping those in plight. And there's some people on the council who are like genuinely shocked. And even Votbird is like, it still doesn't prove anything. It's just that the foreigners are still the ones that are causing the problems. But I think that the only other thing that I want to say that she kind of puts out there to bullet point this is that she feels that although they are travelers from distant places, Dason and others, like the Gate Path for some of you, Shaylesty maybe for others, that Sequin should bend a little bit when it comes to the rules, because the law of Sequin is not specifically the law of their homes, and that showing that Sequin can give a little bit will go a long way towards people overlooking some of the other difficulties that they're facing. And Votbird just feels that she is coddling hostile dissidents that are coming in, and he's just like, people coming to Sequin need to follow Sequin's rules. And you kind of note that Simon nods towards Votbeard in regards to this like brief exchange, in a sense that I won't make you make an insight check, but it seems like he seems more willing to listen to what Votbird has to say, as opposed to Lorbeck's cry for sympathy and leniency. Okay. Has Sovenis joined us?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, Sovenis, do you remember what Giorgio looked like? This was the master and commander of the Wayfarers.
Oh, I don't
and if
remember.
The answer is no, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
So you, as you see Simon nod towards Giorgio, you I don't know who's sitting directly next to you, but 100% you kind of not like maybe nudge them in the side and say, this is probably going to be pretty good.
Okay.
Flamboyantly dressed, the head of the Wayfarer stands up, and by flamboyantly dressed, think like clown costume, harlequin patterns, and a cloak covered in sequined silver.
A dream cloak, per se?
Perhaps, yes, a technicolor dream coat, depending upon the amount of light sources in the room. Rather than just standing and speaking their mind, Giorgio slowly walks around the central table, thumping his pimp cane on the floor with every stride. His whole body seems to simmer with enthusiasm, and he proceeds to go, "Friends, first let me tell you of the dangers that the Wayfarers have learned of. Teleportation, our specialty? Not anymore, it would seem. It would seem it's very hot these days, and I don't mean as a commodity." He proceeds, after basically giving the teleportation speech that you guys got when you first got to the Fire Forest, that he and his team of Wayfarers are seeking to find a solution to this problem. And in hushed tones, as a true performer might, he hints both that they may soon have a solution, and that, too, how amazing it would be for the forces of Sequin and those allied against Regesia if the mobility of the Wayfarers could be at their disposal. Specifically, if the Cirque were willing to violate its long-standing neutrality and provide services at low to no cost. To this, there is, again, a sort of outburst as everyone's just like that no one saw that coming as a statement. Like what? Like as Sovenis was discovered, as Sylvanus discovered when he was kind of given the opportunity to potentially take the Wayfarer's template, there are harsh penalties if you provide transportation via, dimension door or teleportation, and you do not charge for it if your life is not in danger. And so the fact that the master of the Wayfarers could in fact be suggesting this is both amazing and potentially scandalous. As he drops this bombshell, he smiles and sort of takes in the crowd and says that his guildmistress, Sheena Larkins, is willing to do just that if the Lyceum can prove that it has a legitimate chance to defeat Regesia. And then before sitting down, as he continues to pace around the central table that has that black veiny staff on it that Steckhart put there, he says, "These are," and he holds his hand up. And as he holds his hand up, he has a ticket, and he goes, "Oh, I believe I need more than this." And he shakes his hand, and there's a puff of smoke, and anyone watching immediately sees Steckhart like start to take a step forward and then relax as the crowd kind of claps and cheers, and each of you see that there is a small golden ticket sitting in each of your lap that says admission for one, the spectacular trial of the Toteth Topek. Giorgio continues, "Each of you've no doubt heard that we will be performing the premiere of this show in a few days. Though there will be other performances before the night of your ticket. The ageless beauty that is Mistress Larkins wants to be certain we have everything perfect before we show it to you." He turns and looks directly at Sylvanus and winks. "No one messing up lines."
Oh, you've already been fucking up.
"Please, the city's most respected citizens are humbly asked to come and both to show camaraderie and to garner the support of your fellow citizens. We expect each of you to be there on time and to be thoroughly entertained. Additionally,
So now it's
any of
our
you..."
responsibility to be entertained.
Yes, indeed,
Ugh,
young miss.
Jeez. I'm not saying this, Kevin is.
Dignitaries visiting from similar respected nations will also be
Excuse me, kitty.
included in this invitation. Please bring your plus ones. We have the room. Think of the symbol this will be for you all to attend the show together. I dare say it may be wholly disastrous to the morale of Sequem, even, if even one of you fail to attend. And with that, he has made one last circuit around the table, and he does a quick spin, he clicks his heels, and he sits down with a flourish of his cape, and this just beams widely back at Simon.
This guy reminds me of my cousin.
I think I want to meet your cousin, because this guy sounds like a lot of fun. Maybe a lot of work, but a lot of fun. At this point, Simon looks towards your group, and as you, I don't know who wants to be the voice of the party. You guys can like bullet point this, just like I've been doing for these other kind of major players in Sequin. You could do a speech if you want, and if you want to try to win over anybody in the crowd, maybe we could try to do some persuasion checks or some whatever you want to do. But before any of you can speak, Katrina leaps to the floor, and in a manner similar to who is the actor that was in
Robert Downey Jr.
A Knight's Tale that does
Heath
the whole
Ledger?
No, not Heath Ledger. The guy who's like the bard for Heath Ledger.
Tudyk?
Oh, no, that's who was the guy who played Vision?
Charlemagne. Yeah, the guy who played
Charlie
Vision,
Chaplin.
Same guy.
That guy. So you know how like he does that thing and he's like, friends, he spent a year in silence to better appreciate whispers.
Bettany. Paul Bettany. There you go.
Paul
Yeah,
Bettany.
Paul Bettany. Yes, yes. So in a manner similar to Paul Bettany, Katrina stands up and just extols, like verbatim and with great aplomb, all of the things that you've done that she's been privy to. So she doesn't know anything about the Fire Force. She doesn't know anything about your journey through Dason. She doesn't know anything about Gate Pass, apart from the fact that that's where you've hailed from. But what she does know is that you rescued her from the Witches 3, known as Handria. You've removed that vile plant. She knows about what you've done for the Lyceum in grabbing the magical beasts, what you've done for the church, what you've done for the fire rat problem, what you've done to help in the camps of the refugees. And so she provides all of this, and she, just like Bettany in that scene, right? Like she like punctuates it and waits and lets the crowd kind of like eat the silence between each of these stories. And after this, she kind of like turns back towards everyone and says, and as a final point to be made, as someone who has now been traveling with them for the last few weeks, it might be less than that. I don't know. You guys met her in the swamp, so maybe it's been like a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. Whatever it's been. She says, "This one," and she points to obscurity. It says, "This one has even found the time to work on her rear delts." And she smiles widely and then sits back down. And so the floor is yours to make whatever points that you would like to make.
Jen to Tom.
go.
Did tell him to pause it. Question: did I get a sense when I was talking to the monks that they would want to be involved or would be willing to be involved in some sort of defense or attack against Regesia, being that they were displaced by Regesians? Or do they kind of want to just, hey, stay low, bury their heads in the sand, wait for everything to pass, and then do their own thing?
I think more of the latter. I think that if pressured, they would act in their own best interest in self-defense. But I think that they came to Sequin to find some solace and maybe some peace, if possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I really didn't know where that was going. I was like,
No, I
oh.
know. Yeah, you're fucked now.
All right. So again, I don't know who wants to be the voice of the party with this. I mean, anybody can weigh in with whatever. I think that probably the things to review at this point are, why did you guys come to Sequin to begin with?
Great question.
Say anything, I just ever so slightly flex my rear delts as anybody else is talking.
Right. All right, who's talking? Is it Savenis? Are we trusting it to Savenis?
Charismatic is.
I mean, it's
Whoever-
Savenis, but
He wrote
Is
a
it-
song
is it gonna
literally
be-
for this occasion.
I haven't even written the song yet, though.
Make it happen.
well, get to writing.
Called
Time to freestyle.
Game indefinitely paused. Sorry, guys. Gotta wait for the song.
Sugar. Was not prepared to have
Just put it into Chat GBT.
God. Was not prepared for this.
Wait. So nobody's really on the spot. I think that this would probably be a good point for specifically the starting party to potentially discuss what happened, right? Like, so on the opening eve of this game, you met with Torrent at the Poison Apple Tavern. I think that's the right name. It's been a while. And you guys discussed being part of the resistance. Moments after this, you were immediately assaulted by folks that were loyal to Regesia. As that happened, you began rushing your way through the city because Torrent had a person, like an informant, that they were supposed to meet with. And does anyone remember what happened when you made it to the I forget what it was called. It was basically like a big room. It was like a big storage facility that had rooms that you could meet in.
Ooh, the guy who was pretending, and then
Yep.
hold on,
Yeah.
because it was Archon.
I think it was an Archon named Gary.
Yeah, where is that? I have it somewhere. But he had the fake scroll. Jeez, where is this thing? So many. Boreas, no. Bright staff, sword. The thing I don't like about the notes in D&D Beyond is that it's just a blank page. There's no like anything you can do with like organizing any of it, because I know that I have the note in here.
So maybe I can help a little bit with it. You guys.
Torrent is the contact at the Poison Apple Pub. Yup. Elf Larian Pravarieth.
Yeah.
Elf with Gary the Lantern Archon.
So you guys ended up stopping him from escaping, and he let on that there was another elf that was like an elven spy master. Well, spy master in training, as it turns out, but who had the
Tialis?
actual scroll tube that was in the Gabal's magic school.
Yeah, and then we ended up getting the actual scroll tube.
Yep. You guys stole it because not Gabal, one of his Dionysus or something, he challenged the elf to a spell duel, and so Venice pickpocketed it or did something.
Right.
So Venice rolled amazing and was like whoop, and you guys exited stage left. But as you did that, the Regessians reassaulted, and you guys were basically told, get out of Dodge, and Torrent's like, follow me, I've got a plan. And then later revealed, after you battled who you found
plan
out
was
to
to
be
leave.
one of the Inquisitors, you had to go across ice bridges, escape through the Fire Forest, which turned into that shit show. But these are all things that you could tell the audience, because they don't know what's going on in Gate Pass. You are direct sources of information. These are things that you can share. Also, you brought the scroll case to the Lyceum to potentially have them assist with it, because I think it was TJ, it was Morak, who tried to figure out what it was and figured out that it was an infernal, but even knowing infernal, couldn't make the check to understand what was in the scroll case. How's that for remembering almost 3 books ago? Just saying.
Good for you. You can read. And you can read on me. That doesn't make... It doesn't translate. Yeah. So. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean,
So do you
Savannis,
wanna-
tell him. I mean, you can just kind of
I'm
regale
gonna-
everyone of the stories that Katrina didn't make it to.
All right, I am going to.
He's like, but wait, there's more.
More. I'm going to. Can I
The
roll
Fire
a
Forest is
performance-
no longer interesting.
Can I roll?
It's
Roll
just
on
forest.
Can I try and roll a performance to really excite the crowd and excite, all around, to just make a to sing a song, to sing a hymn of the tale of survival that we've gone through, of loss, of
Absolutely.
success.
Why does it have to be a him?
I
Why
mean,
can't
you
it
did.
be a
You
her?
kind of lost a party member.
That's what I
got a
said,
magic
of
sword.
No,
loss
it's
and of
right
success.
there.
So,
She's right there.
She's in the scabbard right there.
See that stick?
all right, so it's a 19.
All right, a 19. As you stand up, do you like pull out an instrument to start playing?
I will pull out a. Actually, I'll pull out my DOS lute and start playing.
As you go to pull out the lute, you see Steckart's hand start to point at you, and you see Simon put his hand up and goes, "No, I want to see where this goes with this one." And you're allowed to pull out your Das Lute, and you perform very well to the point that like everybody, including Giorgio, pays attention to the tale that you tell. I think that the two questions I have for you are, one, just apart from the things that we talked about, is there anything specific that you want to make sure that you talk about in this room? And two, do you want to bring up the scroll case that you've traveled so far with and concealed thus far from prying eyes? In fact, defended
I am
against
not
the
bringing
very
up
minions
the.
of hell.
I would not be bringing up the scroll case, but I would definitely be bringing up the loss of a friend. And, yes, the sacrifice. I bring up a woeful tale of sacrifice, but I would be very remiss if I were to just bring up the scroll case we spent so long to keep hidden, just to be like, oh, by the way, we got
So
this
it's
thing hanging
fair.
around.
It's fair. Well, so as you perform, nothing short of magically, Torrent leans over and touches Nim on the arm, and Nim winces because it's the same arm that Obscurity had grabbed and broken earlier. And she says,
Fucking dramatic.
These are the people that we came to see. I think we should tell them."
Yeah, he always does this.
We should tell them publicly.
Well-
I mean, we should tell somebody specifically. We don't need to tell anybody about the scroll case in a public forum.
Correct.
It's only the people in this room. There's like 14 of them.
Like,
And they
how
all
about
know.
like maybe Lee and Simon? Simon. Like those two people. Like,
So
because
she,
I don't trust that Shakespearean motherfucker as far as I can throw him.
Yeah, he's a bard, so
That's fair. That's fair.
there's no
Like,
reason
no.
to trust him.
She says, actually, if you suggest showing it to Lee, you see her eyes kind of drop again. She says, I still feel there's something off with him.
Oh, yeah. So, right, okay, then not Lee. See, that's a good point.
Which one was Lee?
The mentor.
The Hydromancer, the guy in charge, her mentor, the guy that's
Yeah.
in charge of the naval fleet.
Bald, tan,
Oh.
muscular man, dressed as a fisherman.
Somebody was taking notes. Somebody was
Yeah.
taking. Look at that.
Yeah, we met with him. He was the one who set this up. Yeah, that's what I have. Lee, Torrance Master, bald, tan, muscular man dressed like a fisherman.
Yeah. Did you get the sleeve tattoos? Did
No,
you get
nothing
that?
else.
Okay.
That's all I've got.
She's like, I got more. I took more
Yeah.
notes. I got more
Yeah.
notes.
I know what the tats even are of.
Obscurity was clearly paying attention.
So I think that in that case, as Savenis sits back down, first of all, the crowd, nobody knows what to do as you sit back down, because you gave a performance, but it's also not a performance hall. So a couple people kind of do and then then it stops, and then someone else is like, no, Nope.
No, I'll stand up and wave him off. It's like, no, you're right.
Definitely, no. You definitely help
No,
them out.
stop,
Yeah, and then,
stop it.
then everyone's
Stop
like,
that.
"Oh, we
No.
do this. We do that." And
No,
then so
no, we
then
don't.
Simon puts his
We don't
hands up.
have-
He's like, "All right,
I stand up and
enough,
clap.
enough. All right, enough. Yeah. Give it up. This guy's the best."
Well, I
So-
guess I'm fighting a losing battle here. What else is new? It's Regessi all over again.
You start clapping.
I actually think that like if you had stood up to clap, Katrina would have immediately jumped in and started clapping too. She would have been just like, "Yeah, yeah." So, is there anything
Do
else you guys
a
wanna-
minor illusion, and I make it sound like the entire crowd is clapping.
Just make it way more.
Steckhart immediately murders you because you cast a spell and you didn't know what you were doing. He's just like, just immediately murders you.
I don't die.
You don't not die. But so is there anything else that you guys want to say and or do before Simon kind of nods towards the next person?
Definitely discuss some of the issues with that I have with some of the thought process of treating everyone who comes as a criminal. Though it was kind of all of the sudden an impromptu performance, those stories that were just conveyed by my compatriot, they are true. And had we come here and been placed under suspicion, there would be none of those stories that would be able to help you and this town with those of us who have come here. And I would kind of, if there are people here like the guy we helped with the animals, it's like animals would still be lost with a crew and a ship that would no longer that had no chance of rescue. And just kind of list some things. And I have seen actions like that of those who would gather some with almost no thought process in terms of who they are gathering, just gathering to interrogate. And that was with my time as an inquisitor.
There's
Before-
like a silence. Everyone's like,
I was raised as an inquisitor and escaped, and now I fight against them. Because when that was all I knew, I had nothing to compare it to. But now that I see those out here struggling just to survive, it doesn't matter what side they are on, Regessian, Shaelesti, etc. I don't know all the countries.
"You do good."
Check my notes. Barovians.
Where?
Wait, that's way too far. So, all of these are just trying to survive and to be treated as a criminal without any chance of proving yourself to be an ally is not going to create the allies that you would like and that are needed to fight this great Regessian army. The army that has taken Gates Pass and has marched its way down and is currently approaching.
All right. And so I think with that, I'd like you to make a persuasion check with advantage.
Yeah. Yuck. Oh, I'll just have sit down.
No, I just
Yeah.
to see.
9/11.
So this is the start of a terrible day. So you with those statements said, you see people in the crowd that you have like met with and interacted with, like looking and nodding and agreeing and sort of being like compelled into seeing you not just as allies but as allies in a new light. And so Lorbeck like smiles, Commander Phobane nods in agreement, um, like others that are here. But then there are those like Votbird who just your words kind of are a rhetoric that he's heard enough of, and even though you speak truly, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like you've swayed him and some others in the moment.
Oh, I didn't really
well
think
done.
I was gonna change
Well,
fart birds.
I think you
but
did a good job. I think you did a good job. All right. So as you sit down, Simon looks over and nods towards the ambassador from Dason, Kiefer Numhot. This is a tall, blonde human who says that King Steppengard is currently displeased that Sequin's rallying call has brought so many refugees through his lands, making his kingdom an obvious target for Regesia. While Dason is not above lending its support if there is a legitimate reason, for now, King Steppengard believes it is wiser to make a pact of neutrality with Leska and leave Sequin to its own fate. Basically, in response to this, Simon, like sort of whoever's outraged by this, Simon puts his hands down, and Simon explains. He says, "I will talk to you," or basically in response, in great length, he shows copious information that he believes makes it clear that Regesia will accept no neutrality, that there is no like Switzerland option for Dason to take, and Numhot just kind of like scoffs at this, much in the same way that Votbeard did towards your kind of cry for a better understanding for everything. As the Dason ambassador sits down,
Can I?
Simon nods. Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm trying to interrupt again. Never mind. No, go.
Okay. Simon nods to the ambassador from Sindare, Cranston Snord. This is an aged gnome, who basically, in the best gnome English that I can do, says that Sindare wants to resist Regesia, but my politicians cannot pledge their support to Sequin and draw Leska's ire. We just don't want that at all. Also, if Sequin can defeat Regesia in a notable battle, that might be enough to make the folks in Sindare a little bit more amiable to your plight and helping out. And then finally, as for the torch of the burning sky, I think I know where it is. Actually, it's just well, I guess I'll just tell you the story. The evening
right here.
that the old yeah, you're right here. So the evening
Pulls
that
it out
the
of his
old
pocket.
dragon was slain, old dragon in this case referring to coal time, a storm of fire opened up in the skies above the late Emperor's castle in a place called Korstal, a canyon in a big broad field, and now everything there is dead, burned by months of searing fire rain. Sometimes the dead wander out of the storm, and it's gross, and the people around the area have to deal with it. And I don't know how anyone could have gotten into that firestorm to retrieve the torch, nor do I expect to know how you would do it either, without either turning into a big puddle of mud fire or dead yourself. And he kind of sits down from that. And then finally, excuse me for a second. Finally, Simon looks over to the Ostalin ambassador, Kazha Lanam, Kazhalonam, Kazha Lanam. This Ostaliner is slender tall and has sharpened black fingernails, voluminous robes that probably conceal numerous weapons. And this half-elf ambassador is sourly sarcastic. She explains that her nation is only interested in lending its aid if it will profit them. But in a sort of self-important air, she says, the inestimable Kagan Onomadaman, generous monarch of Ostalin, deeply regrets that his neighbors might be endangered by those Regessian armies to the north. But in his graciousness and all-knowing nature, is willing to lend his elite, fierce, and better trained armies to his neighbors if they are reasonable. Regessia intends to conquer your entire nation. Would it not make sense to be reasonable and trade us 1/3 of your land, so that you may keep the rest from those most greedy and cruel Regessians? Everybody freaks out at this. Everyone's like, who do you think you are to come in here and say we got to give you land? Like, you shouldn't even be here. You suck. We hate you. Get out of here. You guys can feel free to interject with whatever you want, but basically those comments kind of lead to a sort of an uproarious fervor from all in the room, because everybody's like, fuck you, fuck your horse, get on it, fuck yourself, get out of here, kind of response to that statement, if there's anything that you want to throw in there.
Yeah, a bunch of the ambassadors can get the fuck out of here. The gnome, he's cool.
The gnome?
The gnome with the cool name is the only one that's worth it. The other one's just like, you're bringing refugees through here. It's just like, there's an army that's gonna annihilate your fucking country, you dipshit. But, bye.
Obscurity interrupts, and she says, and this is how they win. This is how they win. If we cannot unite ourselves in a common alliance against those who will destroy all of us. If we can't stop quibbling and arguing amongst ourselves, we either work together for a common good, or we might as well just know that none of us will be here by the time this is done. That's our choice.
Like as you say these words, like you see again, some people like turn and hear and listen, and are like, yeah, and the Ostaliner ambassador just goes, but we are being reasonable. It's just a pity that you are already so weak that you need our help. People are like, and in the midst of this, I like the book says in the midst of people's discussions, but let's face it, everyone's screaming at each other at this point. The door to the classroom swings wide open, and a human steps in out of the back room, as you guys, like the room that you guys had come from, the room with the big oval bay window that looks out over the harbor. And as the human steps into the room, there is a thrum of telekinetic energy, and the person is shot backwards out of the room and slams into the wall on the other side. And anybody who notices sees that Kiernan Steckard's hands are raised, and there's still like that crackle of arcane magic around his fingertips. Simon quickly looks at Kiernan in shock and says, "Dude, that was Johund. You just attacked Johund." And Kiernan shrugs and goes, "Just being safe."
All right, so I need a quick thing. Which one was the guy who shot, and then who's Johan?
So Johan, you're gonna guess, is probably somebody that works here in the Lyceum.
Oh, okay, so just someone. Okay.
Yes, so like basically a kid that was in the robes that you guys saw, that was dry cleaning.
Yeah,
you,
drying
came in
people.
the door. Yeah, opened the door and ran in, and before he could say anything, Steckard blew him backwards with some kind of spell and smashed into a back door. At which point Simon looks at Steckard and is like, "What are you doing?" And Steckard's like, "Nah, just being safe."
And so, which one was Steckard?
Kiernan Steckard.
Kiernan
was the dwarf.
Steckard.
Yeah, he's the dwarf that put the staff in the center of the table and said everyone would be safe and was standing kind of guard. He's the head of security and the War Council for the Lyceum.
Can I cast Moonbeam on him?
I mean, you can if you want to get into a fight right now.
I kind of do.
That's security
I'm
walks
just
out.
being safe.
I'm just being safe.
I don't know what this fucking idiot's gonna do next.
I mean, I think.
Would anyone be mad if I did this?
Not at all.
It says obscurity. She walks out of the room like,
I'm
not
just,
part
but
of
my
it.
character is walking out because my character is like, okay, this is done. We have now devolved.
So as you start to cast your spell, as people are starting to freak out, Simon is just like, people, it's okay. Hold on. Let's find out what happened first. Everybody, please, I'm sorry. If everybody could just take their seats. Everybody breathe. This room is a safe place. Steckhart, calm down.
Very obviously proven wrong a second ago by that guy who's supposed to be in charge of keeping people safe.
If
So
that was
no.
someone coming in this room to do us harm, he made that harm stop. So there is that. But
All right, so
everybody
we're
breathe.
defending that. Perfect. Good.
Everybody breathe. And so Simon goes out into the next room and sort of helps this young man Johan up and brings him back in. And he's out of breath. And Steckhart comes up and says, "Sorry about that. Should have knocked first." And so
Let's not
he's
use our
winded,
brains
but
first.
He's just like, so I'm sorry, but there's a group of elves that flew over the wall, and they're now heading up the tower right now. There are 7, and they carry the flag of the Shaelesti, and like the people are like, Jesus Christ, what are the Shaelesti doing here? And then at that, he kind of like stands. He kind of like catches his feet again, and he's like, I wanted to try to tell you. You're right, Mr. Steckhart, sir. I should have knocked. I'm sorry. And all of you can hear like the sounds of armored marching feet as this retinue of apparently elves, or at least a retinue of Shaelesti, are coming up one of the stairwells into that room that has that bay window. And so people that are in the council room that you're in start to stand up to file into that room to kind of see and observe what's happening. So what do you guys want to do?
Does Obscurity see this, being that she just walked out of that room?
You hear this, like you kind of like, if you kind of sidestepped this, you went into the room that they were coming back into the council room for, so you kind of like maneuvered around them. And I'm not going to make you make a check because it's very loud. Both what Johan was just relaying to everyone, these marching of feet coming up a stairwell. So you are in that first kind of large lecture hall that have that's sort of a big space. So like, I don't have a map for this room, but if anybody wants to say that they're somewhere in the room, feel free to tell me.
I'm a little behind Obscurity.
Leaving the room?
Yeah, I'm starting to head out.
Yeah, I'm going to because I don't know what this area looks like. I'm gonna look for a place to hide, to allow them to pass me, to get flanking. Essentially, like if there's a window I can kind of like be levitating outside of, or a ceiling, or a wall corner, or.
So you can absolutely find like a corner or maybe some curtains that if you want to kind of like just like obscure yourself near
quickly.
Whatever. Yeah. You can absolutely do something like that. Yes.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay. Nim, if you were following in suit, I would say just give me a perception check to maybe notice what she's doing.
I don't know if I wouldn't be necessarily like trying to follow her, just more of like I'm also leaving. And I'm a little further behind. I don't know if I've even left the room yet.
You as the elves as another door opens, because apparently the room that I'm describing right now had several doorways. that led to stairwells. You guys had come up one. Just to go back to it, because I know there was a name for it. You guys are at the Orad Tower, A-U-R-A-D. You are in the Orad Tower. There are several stairwells that lead to the top of it, and the elves were coming up one that was different than the ones that you had, that you and all of the invited guests had come up. All of the elves begin to file into the room. The boy was correct. There are indeed 7 of them. The elves are dressed in silver armor, have blue cloaks, and stand tall, bright, and with each of them with straight blonde hair and straight swords at their hips. Their leader is a pristinely beautiful elven woman whose eyes shine sort of the brightest blue you've seen. It looks almost like Caribbean sea blue. There are two men, like male figures, standing close to her like bodyguards, and there is an additional person who stands just in front of her to the left, who holds a flag ceremoniously. The rest of the elves kind of create a crescent shape around her, and I think I have a picture I can show you of her. Maybe. Yes. Okay. This woman, this leader of the group, sees all of you, or many of you, pouring out of the classroom and says, "Oh, I would have waited. I didn't intend to frighten you." Simon kind of moves his way past Joe Hund, past people who had come there, and unless anybody says something before that, says, "So, miss, it's not commonplace to just enter the abode of someone who hasn't invited you. Perhaps you would like to enlighten us with who you are and why it is that you are here." The woman responds, "Well, where are my manners? Of course. My name is Shalosha, and I am daughter of the Shining Lord, Shaladel of the Shealesti. And I have come with an offer of alliance for Sequin against Regesia." At this point, like, everybody that is coming out of the room is like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah," and comes out. Is there anybody who's still hanging out in the room? Has everybody come out? What are you guys doing?
No, once she was there, I'm staying. I'm interested in this.
I'm listening. I'm just being hidden.
Okay.
And listening because I don't know what their intent is.
Okay. All right. She continues as like the crowd kind of murmurs, but like gives and Simon kind of says like, "Well, madam, please give us what it is that you've come to tell us. We are all ears." And somebody snickers as they're like, "Was that an elf joke? Was that an elf joke?" "I come with an offer of safety and salvation for Sequin and those who shelter here. As you know, Shealesti is the shining jewel of civilization, and now we are attacked as well by the armies of Regesia. For every loss we suffer, the progress of all nations suffers. We are the only power strong enough to drive back the fires of Regesia, but even for our greatness, victory is not assured. My father, Lord Shaladel, knows that some of the nations whose ambassadors stand in this very hall would prefer Shalesti fall, but they don't realize that in so doing, they prefer their own doom. All here must admit that faith in the leaders of other nations is a difficult thing, when the only gesture is a few diplomats sent to the banner of Sequin. Shealesti, what do? We send you a fleet. 17 of our ships sail now to this peninsula, surrounding it from all directions to protect it from hostilities. By this, we show our devotion to the fight and, though my father believes, we prove that it is our nation who should lead this fight against Regesia. We invite you to join with us in this war. Many potential allies have found their way to your city, and so we have come here to meet them. However, We cannot risk betrayal on any scale, nor would it be wise for you to risk. So our ask is that you, the mages and council of the Lyceum and Sequin, hand over control of Sequin to the Shaelesti fleet, so that we may begin checking the purity of your ally spirits. Admiral Telshath will serve as provisional governor of Sequin. And as she goes to say more, the Dason ambassador is like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You think we're gonna give sovereign Dason land over to you and your pointy-eared brethren? You can get the and just like goes off, and then basically within moments, everybody starts yelling at everybody again, just like what happened when the person from Ostalin said, "Give us a third of your land." As
Yeah,
this
when
is
you said that,
happening,
I started laughing.
okay, all right. Does like again, people can shout things out right now if they want. If you just want to see what happens, that's fine too. It's up to you.
I want to see.
I
Obviously,
love
this
lamb.
envoy came from some place. I want to see, like, if I determine. I know we have a huge fleet happening out there in the bay, but can I determine how many Shehalesti are really accompanying this envoy?
So currently, there appears to be just the 7. So
Just the
this is
7 in the room. So these 7 came on their own. They got nobody on a ship. They like came
these
walking out of the woods.
no, these 7 came from one of the ships. Likely they took a smaller ship from one of their galleons and rowed to shore, and then according to
Okay,
Johund, flew over the walls. So
right.
apparently they can fly, and then
So I
marched
only
themselves
see
here.
one ship that belongs to them out there.
So all of the ships. So they are um so in Braveheart, remember how like there was the meeting, like the war meeting before the battle to see if they could decide whether or not the battle was going to happen?
Yeah.
So that's what this is, right? So this is not a hostile action. This is
Right.
a parlay to say, "Hey, give us control of Sequin and we'll give
Right.
you our ships to protect it."
Right. I just wanted to know how many ships they had backing them up right now, in
17.
sight, in sight of our of
Well,
Sequin, essentially.
she has claimed 17, but you have learned through other sources. I think I've said it that there is a
Mm-hmm.
naval blockade all around, and I think that if we
Oh,
move the
and those are
Sequin,
Shea ships.
yes,
Got it. See, I thought those were Sequin's ships.
no, Sequin
Okay.
is still working on its militia. It has a small navy, but is it capable of rivaling what the Shaelesti have sent to surround Sequin? And
No way. Yeah.
nobody really feels confident that that's a big yes. I mean, maybe, but not a big yes.
Okay, so we are literally surrounded by the Shea naval fleet right now.
Correct.
Sequin is.
Just to
Okay.
start off.
Got it.
And
Yeah,
then so what are these extra 17 ships then?
Okay. Sorry. So extra.
Not
Like
extra.
her-
It's the 17 ships that are surrounding us in the bay.
Oh.
It's
Oh,
those
so
are
she's
their
just
ships.
saying that okay.
Yeah,
They're
she's
surrounded
calling
by
out that she
just
has
17
ships.
ships.
Yes.
Okay.
So as people are like getting very upset right now, Simon again tries to calm everybody down, and as he says, people, just please let me just, if you give me just a moment. Well, judging by the reaction of everyone in this room, it would appear to me that I can recognize a threat when I hear one, and that if the Shaelesti want to form an alliance, they can learn to share just like everyone else in this room. I and no one here plans on handing our town or our people over to anyone. Shalosha does not look surprised, but she like her face kind of like I don't want to say frowns, but like her brow kind of furrows, as she says, the Admiral of the Sequin Navy has given his orders. This fleet will remain here. And the Admiral has said that the Shealesti will prevent sea travel into or out of Sequin from this point forward. I can try and speak with my father to find a compromise or a middle ground, but each of you need to know that this is the line that the Shealesti have drawn for Sequin. Some of the ambassadors
Me
at
that
this
you've
point.
already drawn that line.
She like to this voice that comes out of the crowd. She says again, my father, the Admiral. I said his name before. Sorry, his name is Lord
George.
Shaladel.
Farquaad.
George and Farquaad would be way easier to say. There are so many SHs in all these goddamn names. Shaladel has given me these orders to deliver them to you. I come to seek your response, and you have
Correct me
given.
if I'm wrong on this, but you've already blockaded the harbor, which in many instances would, in and of itself, be declared an act of war. And now you want to come under a presumed flag of truce because the border the blockade's not working.
We need to ensure that Regesia is not infiltrating your lands to cut us off from what our objectives are.
So conquest for the greater good.
We do not wish to conquest. We do not wish to make you suffer any more than you have, but we need to make sure that our safety prevails.
That's a story that's been told many, many times throughout history.
Our goal is to make sure that Regesia is not the ones who write the history and tell the story this time.
Then why are you not coming with a banner of peace as opposed to either join us or die?
We are not saying or die. We are just saying that we will
but
not
it's heavily
permit
implied.
we will not permit ships into this harbor so as we can protect our own interests. Anybody
But
who
it's
wants
our
to
harbor, not yours.
Anybody who wants to give me an insight check.
I do.
I will.
From behind the curtains you hear, I do.
Obscurity thinks to herself that the Shealesti are looking to be battling on two fronts.
Question for Sylvanas, just because some of the rules have come through tonight and didn't have the ad on there. Is that a 13 total or is it a 13 plus 5?
It's a 13 total.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an 8. Yeah, it's an 8 plus 5.
Okay, and obscurity?
13 total.
13 total. Okay. So, Kane, you are like just embroiled in this conversation with this envoy
Captain
from
Oblivious.
Shealesti. No, I wouldn't say oblivious. I would just say that you're focused on your points. Like you're driving them home. You're like, you have come here as potential would-be conquerors. You are telling us to lay down everything and allow you to walk all over us. And her response each time, although guarded, is that her belief is that this is the best process forward. And to you, she's just not listening to you. Obscurity and Sylvanas, you both feel like there's that kind of like, not quavering, but there's something that's going on. And Nim, 100%, you see that she feels like she's being forced to say words that she does not want to say, but for whatever reason she is sticking to the script. This is what she has been told to do, and this is what she's going to come and do. Anybody who wants to can also give me, I really wish there was like a remember check. I know we've all said this 1,000
Wouldn't
times.
it be
History.
All right, so let's do a history check.
12.
Oh.
I hear buttons being clicked. Oh, Moruk comes in. Moruk, do you remember that you guys met a contingent of elves in the swamp as you were coming to Sequin, and that there was somebody that you guys kind of made a connection with that was on the ship? I believe his name. Kane Zero. That's great.
The fuck's an
I
elf?
believe his name was Thaladel. I think it was Thaladel. I don't have it directly in front of me. And you remember that you had kind of seen a similar circumstance where this individual was capable of seeing what you guys were trying to do, but felt like he was being compelled, not compelled, but like, a soldier is told to do what they are ordered. And you got the feeling from Thaladel and now from the hell's her name again? From Shalosha, that this is happening again.
Shalom.
Basically, as the discourse continues for a little bit, the other ambassadors that are there, as well as members of the War Council, start to demand that the elves should leave, and in order to salvage whatever negotiations can come out of any of this, Simon basically says, "Listen, I'm going to have to ask you to go back to your boats, and I would appreciate it if your retinue left with you. You have our response. Now, if you can talk to your admiral, your father, and get a better sort of course of offering to come and talk to us, we are happy to host and speak with you again. But for now, I believe all of us are in unity to say that we do not abide by the selection and the offer you have provided." And so Shalosha and elves kind of they bow, and they go to leave, and they start to march out. And at this point, I would say that you guys kind of have free reign to talk to anyone that you want to. I do have one thing that I want to have happen before we sort of conclude the War Council, but if there's anybody here that you guys want to talk to, either individually or as a group, you guys are free to do that.
I'm going. Are the Shaelesti still there?
They've left. Like, basically, Simon was like, "Please leave," and they
Okay.
kind
I
of
almost want to track them. I almost want to follow them.
I would
feel like-
love if you did. I just wish that we had some way of communicating telepathically.
Exactly, and we don't.
Like, I wanted. Oh, you know what? I was gonna ask Savenis to do it, but he doesn't have it. But does? Oh, fucking Moruk has it. Message.
Fucking Moruk.
Could
Moruk here?
Could I have just had? Could I have whispered to Moruk to just send a message to her while she had been there?
Mind spike him?
Yes.
After
That
I thought you meant mind-
it's
non-damaging
just
mind spike.
it's just so that I can track you. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about the spike in
Fuck.
your mind.
Covert mind
the-
spike.
The flag kid just goes like fire.
I went
What
too
the-
deep.
What?
That's lobotomy. Fuck.
Why do I have this
Right.
headache? I don't understand. But if you wanted to say send a message or something like that, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd open up a conversation.
TJ's like, no, I didn't say that. I said I want a mind spike.
Just hear security
No.
screaming in the hallway.
I thought she was.
Sorry,
being
I
quiet
missed.
for stealthing.
You can't miss a spell.
Oh,
You're choosing your
you wanted me to
target.
mind spike the Shea Halesti. Got it. I thought you meant security.
My hearing's not what it once
You
was.
did say her. Important to be more specific. Obscurity just collapses out from behind the curtain.
You're stalking them and you just
Found
cradle
her.
your head in your hand. No.
She loses her -1 to intelligence, and it just goes to -2.
It increases. It moves up a step or down a step. Yeah.
If you want to follow them, and then if I mind spike you, then I can track you for like 4 hours. I spend some sorcery points, maybe more. I think I have like 3 sorcery points, maybe.
Well, I'm. Oh.
All right, hold on.
We've definitely caused some shit. Have we?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I mean, just a little psychic damage.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I'm wondering if, like, have we talked about this before? Would Obscurity even know what's happening? Like, because if she knows about Mind Spike and if she knows what it does, then she would take that without having to converse with anybody. She would take that as yes, follow them, right? Because then she would know why she's getting this, tremendous this headache right now. I just
Minor headache. Minor.
Yeah. Like,
if I roll well, minor.
In the base of my skull.
my team needs me. How do you know that? Because I'm hurting.
Right.
That's how I know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because
Although
my head
exactly
hurts
where you
so
are.
fucking much.
It's just that you can't be hidden from me. That's all.
So while then, okay, let's just assume. I'm gonna assume that we've kind of we've made this tactic before. We've been together long enough at this point.
This has been a suggestion. I would message you beforehand.
Oh, you would? Okay, even more better.
I mean,
Mo better.
and I said this to you, so I mean you can take it and run with it. But do we want to message the Shayalesti? If you want to just have her track them, excellent. That's fine.
I'm essentially, I'm not tracking them for location. I'm tracking them for intel. So it's up to you. I don't trust these motherfuckers. I haven't trusted the Shayalesti at all. I came from that region, so I don't trust them. I don't trust the Regessians either. Essentially, I'm for the people that we are with right now. The types of people that we are with right now. That sucks. So I would be looking for essentially intel on anything to give us the upper hand.
I have a quick question for Obscurity. So because I don't remember this, did you already know about Nim's background then? Or what was your reaction when Nim said that to the crowd? When
No, I did. Nim told me that soon after we met.
Okay.
And I didn't have a problem with that because Nim was no longer an Inquisitor.
Okay. All right.
You know what I mean? So like I'm fine with we all, like, I had my fair share of mistakes. It's just whether or not you learn from them. So as far as I can tell, Nim is on a path that I could get behind.
Nim's
Doesn't
cool.
matter what
Nim's
happened.
Cool. All right.
Freaking me out.
All right. So you get Mind Spiked. TJ, does it do any damage to her?
I know. Yeah.
I mean, yes. Oh.
Oh my god.
That's not max. Don't worry.
Pretty
It could have
big
been
headache.
worse.
No.
It could have been worse.
You also get to try and save, right?
That's not like a dehydration.
Not really, or else it doesn't work.
Ah, shit.
It needs to go through. I mean, if I could mind spike her without the damage, that'd be great. But that's not how.
All right. So you
I'm
know
not
how
trying
you
to
add
hurt her. I'm just
and make
trying
it
to
a
track.
stronger spell.
It's gonna be really hard for me to
it
be
does
quiet.
more. Just
So-
do lesser of a spell. Do like a -3 spell. You'll get a level 3 back, and she heals.
I'm gonna use 3 sorcery points so she has this for 8 hours.
Okay. All right,
But
so
that's just so I can track her for.
Dylan, you've been mind spiked. Take take half the damage because you were willing to let this happen.
Okay, cool.
But you
good.
do
Brace.
take 8 points of damage as you
That's fine.
got to take something for this. And
Yep,
then
yep.
what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to roll some stealth to track them and see what they do. I'd like you to make
Yeah.
3 stealth checks. The first one from the pain from Mind Spike will be at disadvantage. The next 2 roll with whatever you have. And don't forget, you have like 14,000 inspirations that you could use if you wanted to.
Yeah. I was actually gonna cast some stuff on myself after I got mind spiked and before I started following them.
Okay.
Because they're not gonna be hard to follow while we're out right here. I was gonna do Pass Without a Trace and then Invisibility,
Okay.
but it looks like Pass Without a Trace is a concentration spell, and so is
Is it?
Invisibility.
Invisibility, you're essentially
It is.
invisible as long as you're in the shadows, right? Or is that
No,
Invisibility.
invisibility, you're totally invisible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm
long as I don't-
thinking that it's more of a
Do anything.
for Shadow Monk. If you're in dim light or darkness, that's something that you just get, right? Or is that
I can. I think that's jumping from shadow to shadow,
yeah.
not straight up invisibility. I could essentially Misty Step from shadow to shadow as a Shadow Monk. Hold on, let me see.
You might be thinking Warlock then. 'Cause I know Warlocks have a thing. If you're in darkness, you can just be invisible.
Oh, got it.
You can't be moving.
Oh, got it. I don't. I have Shadow Step. When I'm in dim light or darkness as a bonus action, you can teleport up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space you can see that is also in dim light or darkness. What time of day is it right now? Is it midday?
So it was midday, yeah.
I wonder if that was because I always threw darkness on my guy TJ, so I was always basically hidden.
Oh, yeah. If darkness was cast.
Yeah,
I think
I
I
would
have
cast darkness on my guy and then teleport to different places, but I'd have darkness on my guy. So wherever I go, everyone is blind. Tom loved when I did that next to his character.
Yeah, and I couldn't see.
And then he's up on like a cliff, so he can't like just run forward out of it because he could fall and die. So it's like, well, I guess my turn is just sitting here.
I'm just gonna wait until he moves.
If someone needs it, I can cast invisibility on.
Yeah, you
That
can
would
do
be
a twofer.
cool, because then
How
I
do you?
can do Pass Without a Trace and hold concentration on that, and then you could make me invisible.
Yeah, because it's I used mine through DOS loot, so I can do that pretty easily.
Okay.
So you
Yeah, I
get
would like
mind
to.
spiked. You take some damage. You recorded the damage to yourself, yes?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I'll roll stealth.
You put.
As
I
invisible.
just want to describe it. You put Pass Without a Trace on yourself in
Yes.
a very Willy Wonka, Gene Wilder Willy Wonka moment. Das Loot. You
Sure.
have invisibility on yourself, and
Uh-huh.
you take off down the stairs after them.
Yep.
And so the first check's going to be when you start to close in. They have basically made it to the bottom of the stairs. They were all in heavy armor. You're a monk. You're moving faster than them. You catch up to them. That first check with disability, I'm going to say, not disability, disadvantage, is when you
With
get to the bottom
disadvantage?
of the... What's the matter?
Because you're in a walk.
With disadvantage or
Disadvantage on the first one because of the mind spell. So...
Right, there's not like a correct ramp for you to deal with it with your disability.
Yeah, exactly. We should have.
So
had
you
better
have
things installed. The
disadvantage
Lyceum
because of
has
your
been told about
disability.
this in the past. But so your first check is with disadvantage.
As a monk.
But
well,
after
because I
that-
have advantage
Oh.
because I'm invisible, it's a straight roll.
Straight roll.
I obviously have something for this.
And then it's plus 10 because of my thing.
Okay.
And don't forget to roll your d4.
Why? Am I blessed?
Shadow. It's your shadow class thingy, or your racial feat. Shape of shadow. You have cunning, intuition. When you make a charisma with performance or dexterity stealth, you roll a d4 and add the number to the ability check.
Okay. I will do that. I don't know where that is, but I will assume that
That
you
will
are
do.
not
That
lying
will
to
do.
me. Yeah.
I didn't know either. I didn't know how you had invisibility, so I looked at the character and I was like, oh, they just made a straight up shadow. A shadow. Yeah,
Nice.
they made up a straight up shadow.
So that 21 is actually going to be 31.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
You see them and they start making a straight line towards one of the walls of the Lyceum, and they do not appear to notice you at all, and you're closing the distance fast on them. As they make it to the wall, they all look to each other and look up and go to fly. As they go to fly, you're like, "Shit, I can't fly." But you do notice that
Oh,
there
like Jackie
is,
Chan, that shit though.
but but there is an open portcullis on that wall that you could easily slip through if you wanted.
Yes.
Okay,
Done.
so as they start to fly, they are heading back northward towards the harbor. Um, Actually, they're basically heading, like, if you had a far point, like, out to that ship that's out there. That's probably, like, what their heading is, but you can follow them, and as they start to move through the sky, you're running below them. Give me another check.
Now
This
with
time
advantage.
this time with all your bells and whistles, yes.
Oh,
It's still a
okay.
28.
So 38.
Yeah, it's still, I mean, amazing. So you you slide like ink through a puddle. Um, just like, there's a guy selling cabbages. You slide underneath the cart. There's a person on a unicycle juggling bowling ball pins, and you jump through the pins in the midair, and nobody knows. You're just a waft of air moving through. Um, the Shaelesti actually come down and land near the shore, and you see a series of like long rowboats that are there, and they start to and there's another retinue of elves there waiting. They kind of like put their hand up in a hailing motion towards Shalosha and her folks as they come back. They stop. She Do you speak Elven?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so in
Sure.
Elvish, you hear them. She basically explains what happened. That she came and she made the point. Everybody freaked out and said, "No way," and leave. There's kind of some murmuring from the other elves, and she says, "I think it's best that I try to contact Father and let him know what the response is. I mean, this was to be expected, but at the same rate, if we want these people as allies, we need to win their favor, and this is not the way." And like there's some people who kind of like some of the elves that are with her kind of agree. There's other ones that are like, "We have our orders, ma'am." And so she kind of sighs, and with that they start to like push the boats back out, and they start to row back out to one of the ships out in the bay.
I want to be on one of those boats. So I'm either going to be like attached to the side of the boat or under the boat or like in the boat would be my preference. Kind of like masking my movements so that I don't hit anybody or they don't bump into me. But any movement I make on the boat, I'm masking with somebody else getting onto the boat.
Hmm. So I feel like you could do this because you're amazing at this. So
That's what I feel like.
I think I'm gonna
We're on the same
say
page.
okay, but
I gotta say, this is ballsy.
this is a ballsy move. So that's why I'm like, yeah, I gotta respect this. So okay, so you know what? I'm just gonna say roll a check.
Is there are they only on, do they only have like one little dinghy or are there a couple of dinghies for all of them?
There's like 3 or 4 boats for all of them, and so the
Okay.
7 that were
So maybe
there.
the boat that has the least amount of people on it?
Yeah, Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'm with you. All right. So let's roll that stealth check and see where it gets us.
Okay. Let's see. I think that's going to be a good one. So that'll
Yeah.
be 41.
41.
I mean, I'll roll again to see what happens.
Holy shit. So yeah, 1,000%. You see your opportunity, and as people are like getting back on the on board the boats, one of them in particular has maybe one or two less people than the rest. There's a total of maybe like 20, 25 people between the boats, and one of them, rather than having 6 or 7, has like 5. And as one of the elves is like at the prow of the boat pushing it back in the water, so that they could start to row, you just kind of like sidestep in the water, one foot like sort of dances in the sand, and just as it starts to push into the mud and the waves, you leap up and then tiptoe along the side of the rowboat and just slide into one of the empty seats towards the rear of the boat.
Beautiful.
And you are invisible. How long does invisibility last? Is it 1 hour
1
as
hour.
long as you're still concentrating on
Yeah.
it, Sylvanus?
1
Yeah.
hour concentration.
Okay. All right. So they row you back out to the ship. They have a series of winches that come down with hooks that hook to these eyelets that are at the front and the back of the rowboat, and they winch the boats back up out of the water with everybody in it. And you guess you probably got about 30 minutes left before you're visible. So
Okay.
I'm gonna hit the pause button. I'm gonna hit the pause button with you on the
Okay,
ship.
let me tell
And
you so
okay.
specifically what I am doing. So I am taking note of exactly which ship in this fleet is her ship.
Hmm.
Um, I am taking note of if I can determine the rank of the individual that she was talking to, saying that she needed to talk to her father, and the guy was like, "Well, we have our orders, so kill these motherfuckers." So his rank, like who kind of he is in the hierarchy, and I am gonna be like white on rice on her because it's her conversations that I want to hear. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Cut.
So I think then what we'll do is give me one stealth check, and I'll give you a breakdown, and then we'll do one more, and then I'll pause it, and you can figure out what you want to do from there.
Okay. Okay. Oops. Oh, jeez. So 26.
Okay, so 26. Um, it much the same as how you got onto this rowboat. You are now on this galleon, and it's very easy for you to just kind of like bob and weave between people on the boat as you're moving through everybody. And you are following Shalosha as once she gets back on the boat, she immediately starts to make her way to the aft of the ship, where there are a set of stairs that lead down towards what look like cabins. And she goes to go into one of them, and as she opens the door, uh, she walks in, and as she turns to close it, you, with that check, if you want to, are able to
Slide in.
just slide in. Now,
Beautiful.
slide into the room. She closes the door, but as you slide into the room and closes the door, your motion creates just the softest disturbance of air, and you see like one of the locks on her braid kind of ruffles and falls from her ear, and she turns and looks around her cabin, then shrugs her shoulders, pushes that piece of hair back where it was, closes the door, and you hear a click as the door closes. She goes over to a large ornate writing desk that has a chair that's covered in red velvet upholstery, and she sits down and pulls out a piece of parchment and starts to write with a quill in this like bluish purplish ink. Um, very elvish script, very flowy, very stylic, elvish script from Lord of the Rings. We all know what we're talking
Yeah. I'm going to read what she's writing
about. Okay, and
as she's writing it.
she is writing a note to her father. It is very proper. Like, it's not just like, "Hey, Dad, what do you think about this?" It's like, to the most esteemed and honored admiral of the Shayloshi naval fleet, victor of so many battles, hero of this particular skirmish,
I
recognized,
just rolled my eyes.
just all of this stuff. And then she says, as per guidance and ordered, I have delivered the messages to the people of Sequin, and Sequin has refused. And it is here that she kind of, like, her writing, it doesn't stop in the way that it looks, but the mannerism changes from this real formality, or real formal writing, to this quest. And she's like, "Father, I don't think this is how to reach these people. I will do what it is that you tell me to do, but if we need them, and I think that we do, we cannot expect them to abide by our demands. Why is it that we cannot at least parlay with them with some sort of understanding and fellowship?"
Diplomacy.
A diplomacy. And she kind of signs off, and she says, "As always, with all due respect, I follow your word and will do till my last day and my last breath." And then signs like, "Your loving daughter," and then her. And then she stops and she looks at it, and she kind of reads it over again. And she looks for a moment, almost like she's gonna ball it up and just throw it in the waste bin. And then she just sort of like looks up in that sort of like 1,000-yard stare ahead of you. And I imagine that you're just this ghost that's standing there behind her, like kind of hands on your hip, still flexing your newly developed rear delts. And she sighs and says out loud to herself, "No. This is something he has to know. This is not something to keep." And she rolls up the parchment and puts a braided cord around it, and then pushes like a wax seal. And as she's doing this, I feel like your time.
It hasn't been a half an hour yet. Is there a window in here? It's like a porthole window.
There is a window out, like, on the
open?
side of this, but it's one of those like small paned cross-hatched windows.
Yeah.
Give me a perception check.
I do want to share my perspective of, when Jen actually helped with like diplomacy or whatever the word was. And it's like she's actually struggling with what word, and then she's just like, "Diplomacy. Yeah, thank you." Huh?
Yeah, she's
Oh.
like, "Thank you, strange ghost."
Yeah.
So that was, if we're writing a comedy script, 100% that's in it. That's in it.
Like
So
a Monty Python.
you see that that on the left and the right of these, like, those old, like, wavy glass windows, like it's like hand blown glass kind of thing, that there are these small hatches that open outside, so that, like, air could come in, but they open up out to a drop to the ocean. And also, they are very small. Like, you're gonna need to potentially make like a dexterity save to make it through them. If you want to do that. I mean, you have options, but I'm just saying it. So writing a letter is not something done like briefly. So I'm not saying you're at your time clock now.
Oh,
but you're
gotcha. Okay.
real close.
And the letter doesn't like disappear magically. Like, she's actually like sending this letter. I was thinking.
Yeah, it looks like she's going to send it somehow. There doesn't appear to be a mechanism in the room, and I'm going to say that you're kind of taking these factors in as she's like pressing the wax seal to the paper. So, what do you want to do?
I think my first instinct would be to whichever porthole is bigger, that I feel like would be easier for me to get through. I'm visualizing the Little Mermaid, coming out of the porthole. Like, should it like push Flounder out first, and
Okay.
she popped herself out.
Okay.
So making it so that if it is, I would prefer if it was open, but if it's closed and or locked, very gingerly, very sleight of handily unlocking it and just making it seem like this porthole kind of just blew open because the wind blew, and then quietly and quickly just popping out of that porthole and then feather falling or slow falling into the water, trying not to make any splashes or waves or sounds.
Okay.
And then we'll swim back
So let's.
underneath the water.
Holy shit! So that's a long swim. That's a very long
Yeah,
swim.
yeah,
but-
it is. It's all right. I'm invisible for an hour. I mean,
Well,
I'm trapped. So if I don't make
here
it
we
back,
go.
they'll
Here we
just
go.
find my
This is how we're gonna do this. First of all, give me a sleight of hand to see if
Okay.
you can open the window quietly.
Sleight of hand, where are you? If ever I needed a nat 20. Good.
Oh, wow. Yep. I gave you a DC, and so you beat it.
Good.
And so you're able to like just slowly. It's got one of those like little latches that you gotta like
Yeah,
lift and
that's what
slide
I
to the
thought.
side. And so you lift it and slide it to the side, and the window like opens up, and there's a moment where like there's dust on it that you're like, oh shit, it's gonna squeak, and it just goes like, it just opens, and Shalosha does not seem to notice that this is open. I'm gonna.
I mean, we're on the ocean. Is it windy? Can it just kind of blow open naturally, like the wind just blew in?
So here's what I did. I just set another DC to see if the wind blew. And there is no wind right now.
Oh, come on.
Well, no, like
Okay.
you've opened it. She doesn't recognize it's opened, and
So
there's
it's
no wind
open all the
blowing.
way, or it's
Yes.
not just unlatched? Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I thought that's what you meant, that you
Gotcha.
opened it all the way. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I rolled to see if there was any breeze.
Okay.
And it's
breeze.
like it's just like dead air right now. So,
Okay.
right. So if you want to try to get out of the window, you're invisible and you're very, very stealthy. So the first thing I'm going to have you do is give me a Dex saving throw to see if you can get your body out the window.
Yeah. I don't know what that is. Okay.
Okay. So you're able to get your arms and your head and your waist through the window, but your butt and legs are still hanging out on the other side. I need one more save.
Okay. I'm pretty scrawny.
It's a small window, and you've been working out.
Fucking rear delts. God damn it!
Okay, with the 13.
Inspiration. Hold on.
Oh shit!
Please let this be better. Oh, inspiration again.
Yeah,
I
I
knew
knew
I'll
it.
make you burn them. I'll make you burn all of them.
One. Okay, so that was one inspiration. Okay, we'll go with that one.
Okay.
Woo, 2 inspirations.
As you're trying to get your last leg out, you're starting to invoke like the ability to feather fall into the water. Your boot catches on the window, and you almost scrape it against the glass. But in the last second, you look down, you're like, oh, and you physically like help your leg maneuver out, and you're able to slow fall into the water, and you can begin swimming back.
Oh my god, guys. All right.
Meanwhile, by the way, I don't know if the Mind Spike was allowing Moruk to give everybody a blow-by-blow by this about this, but yeah, Moruk, you're aware of all of this shit, and that now you're gonna have a very sloggy, very tired, wet friend when you come back. I'm gonna assign. Do me a favor and make 3 Constitution saves.
Me
Yes.
or
the
Morak? Okay.
for the swim back. No, not Morak.
Oh, gotcha. Con saves. Okay.
First one, check, pass. Next one. Next one, check, pass. One more.
Let's see. Okay.
17. Okay. So the last one, because it was a steady growing number, the last one, you don't pass. It doesn't slow you down. When you make it back to your house tonight, you will have one level of exhaustion.
Okay. That's fine. I'll take it.
All right. So I'm going to cut back to everybody else because once the elves left and like the ambassadors were there, the town council members were there, the war council people were there. If anybody wanted to talk to anybody, we can talk about that. But one thing that specifically happens is Simon comes over and wants to talk to you all to get more information about your experiences in Gate Pass before you left and what your kind of firsthand experiences with the Regessians have been like. He kind of like brings you over to like if you follow him, he brings you over to a separate room that's away from everybody. Kind of invites you in to sit down, have some tea. He from what Katrina presented, he feels that she has a pretty good grasp of the dangers of the war and feels that for all of the good that you've done so far, as well as all of the sort of trials and tribulations that you've gone through, he sees in you like useful allies for the coming conflicts and wants to both provide his gratitude for what you've done, but also to kind of get a better understanding of what it is that everybody offers, so that he can try to figure out the best way to use you guys if you're so inclined. I think that without making anybody make inside checks, who goes to talk to Simon when he kind of invites you guys over?
I'll go.
All right, so Kane.
Who did I want to talk to? Was
You guys can still have spoken to other people in from the council and other things. This was specifically Simon, like, kind of waves the group over to talk to them, but not everybody has to go have this conversation with it.
okay. Yeah, I'll run over there as well, I guess.
All right. I think for anybody that goes over to see, so it sounds like Kane and Nim, if anybody else does too, that's fine. Before we kind of get into that conversation and talk about other ones, you guys realize in talking with Simon that his heart is in the right place. Like, he really wants to help Sequin. He really wants to do the best that he can with his school to aid in the war against the Regessians. He really thinks that the Lyceum should be a bastion of hope and also the growth of resistance for what Regessia is doing. But he seems like somebody that's a bit out of his league. Like, he is not like a war tried battle combatant. He is somebody that is a spell slinger. He is somebody that knows the ins and outs of magic. He's able to teach people that. He's able to use those spells to great efficiency. But as far as like being a tactical genius and how to plan battlefronts, that's not his strong suit. And any help that can be provided, he will be graceful. All right. So that said, it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at
right
conquest, so.
Yeah, you're pretty good at a game for sure. So we can break right now. If anybody wants to just have a dialogue about like these conversations or go further with it, I'm happy to do so. But I got to take a quick bio break, and if not, we can kind of pick up here when we start next week. If that sounds cool.
That sounds like a plan to me.
Okay. I know tonight was a lot of dialogue, a lot of information. Jen, you single-handedly broke onto a Shaelesti ship, got some more intel about the one of the commanders, and you know what? Your invisibility powers and sneakiness is pretty impressive, gotta say. And also, Sylvanas, great job with your performance. Even though you failed us and didn't give us the song that were promised. It's fine. It's fine.
No, don't do that. That's not Sylvanas'
Don't
fault.
give
That's
any slack.
Eric's
No
fault.
slack.
No, that's not Sylvanas' fault. It's Eric's fault. So
Fair.
I just want to be
Okay.
clear who's at fault here.
We're not passing blame to
The
between
character.
PC and player. Okay,
Sylvanas did great. Eric, however.
fail. All right. Well, good stuff, guys. Thanks for playing, and we'll touch base next week as War for the Burning Sky continues.
Yeah. Cool.
Good night.
Later, guys.
Good night. Later, everybody.